The topic that I will be talking about is post-traumatic growth in Bosnian population, and I will be talking about differences by gender, age, and number of traumatic experiences. Firstly, let's define post-traumatic growth. Post-traumatic growth is defined as positive psychological change, which represent the product of the process of dealing and coping with challenging life experiences. The most important thing that the authors of this model emphasize is that the post-traumatic growth isn't the direct product of the trauma itself. It is rather a product of individual struggle with the challenging life experience that they are faced with. Post-traumatic growth tends to occur in 5 general domains: appreciation of life, relation to others, personal strength, new possibilities, and spiritual growth. The goal of this research was to examine the differences in post-traumatic growth regarding age, gender, and number of traumatic experiences of participants. So our hypothesis was that we expected a statistically significant difference in post-traumatic growth regarding age, gender, and number of participants' traumatic experiences. The sample in our study consisted out of 200 adults from general population in Sarajevo, aged from 18 to 60 years, and we made our sample so that we have 50 younger females, 50 older females, 50 male younger participants, and 50 older males. So we had a total of 200 participants. The procedure was quite simple. Firstly, we approached our participants in public places, in parks, malls, universities, etc. And after participants filled their questionnaires, we asked them if they had any questions, answered those questions, and also using a snowball method, which is used in research, we asked them to give the questionnaires to their family members and friends who meet the age criteria. The measures that we used: firstly, we constructed the list of traumatic experiences which was in accordance to DSM-5 criterion A for post-traumatic stress disorder. We only took criterion A as important for this list because we weren't interested in PTSD, we were interested in occurrence of the traumatic events. So we took only criterion A and made these lists which participants had to check if they experienced any of these events, not how many times, only if they experienced them. The second measure is a post-traumatic growth inventory, which has 5 subscales: relation to others, new possibilities, personal strength, spiritual change, and appreciation of life, which is constructed by the authors of the model of post-traumatic growth, and it is consisted out of 21 items which are answered on a scale from 0 to 5. These are the t-test results, which are showing us the differences in post-traumatic growth in 2 age groups. So for those who aren't really familiar with statistics, I'm not an expert myself, but I will try to explain. The main column is this column here, P. I'm sorry, I cannot move the mouse. This column P. And if the number is less than 0.05, it means that it is statistically significant. And here we can see that there is no statistically significant differences in either of the post-traumatic growth subscales between younger and older participants. So there is, that result wasn't really expected because significant number of conducted research suggested that younger participants scored higher results than older participants on post-traumatic growth measures. They offered the explanation that younger people are more optimistic and have more willpower to cope with difficult life situations. So we asked ourselves a question: why younger participants in Sarajevo don't show greater post-traumatic growth than older participants? And I will talk a bit later about that. So the second table is, shows us a difference in post-traumatic growth by gender. So here we also have to look the last column, and you can see that there is statistical significance in difference between males and females on subscale relation to others and spiritual change. This is very important this was very important for us, and you can see here, even though it isn't statistically significant, but in this column N, you can see that females consistently have bigger results on post-traumatic growth than males, even though we are not talking about statistical significance. We only have statistically significant results on the relation to others and spiritual change. So we have a possible explanation for that. Firstly, society encourages women to express their feelings. One research had shown that after traumatic experiences, women use coping strategies which are focused on their feelings, thinking about traumatic experience and searching for meaning, which is cognitive processing of what had happened, more than men do. And if we go back to the start, the authors of this model told us that it is the most important thing is the cognitive involvement in the crisis in the moment, which leads to better chances of reaching the post-traumatic growth. So this could be the potential reason why women have higher scores than men in our research. This is the table which shows the results when we examine the differences in PTG regarding the number of experienced traumatic events. What we found is that there is statistically significant difference regarding number of traumatic experience only on subscale appreciation of life, but it is on a border of significance. So we could say that in our study we didn't show that that significance and that difference is really noticeable. So the possible explanation for this is that we have to take into account that Sarajevo experienced one of the longest sieges in modern European history. Some of our participants are war veterans or persons that were present in Sarajevo during the war and the siege of the city. Also, Sarajevo is now home to many people who experienced a variety of severe traumatic experience in other parts of Bosnia and Herzegovina, such as ethnic cleansing, rape, displacement or loss of home, torture, robbery, etc. There is another possible explanation, is that perception of unfavorable post-war social and economic condition in the country disables individuals to reach growth after experienced trauma. That could be an answer why younger participants in our study didn't had higher scores than older participants, because it could be that they don't see any space for their growth in this country, and maybe that's the reason why. So the two main questions that we asked ourselves at the end of our study and after we reviewed all our results is there possible that there is a moderation effect of type and severity of trauma on the relationship between number of traumatic experiences and post-traumatic growth? It is possible that type and severity of trauma dictates the occurrence of post-traumatic growth. The second question was, is there a moderation effect of perception of socioeconomic situation in the country on the relationship between the number of traumatic experiences and post-traumatic growth? It could be that the lack of optimism and lack of offered opportunities by the country inhibits the occurrence of post-traumatic growth. So even though we didn't confirm totally our hypothesis, we think that our results have two big reasons to be important for. Firstly, it provides general information about the nature and presence of post-traumatic growth phenomena in the sample of Sarajevo, since the phenomena isn't explored enough in our region. So the other part is a bit of more practical nature. It really offers us better understanding of what the individual is dealing with in the aftermath of trauma. And we now know that we should really always emphasize the importance of cognitive elaboration of traumatic experience rather than avoidance, especially while working with male clients. And generally, I could say that these results can help create us some guidelines for our better professional work and to just make our actions more effective, productive, and hopefully lead to post-traumatic growth. That's it. I try to be really quick.